Welcome into this edition of Community in Action, the monthly feature interview program from Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties. I'm Jason Parent, Chief Executive Officer of Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties. On this month, the April 2026 edition of Community in Action, our feature interview is going to focus on the Homebuyer Education Program. This program is available to residents across the state of Maine and offered by Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock County to people in those three counties. And we're going to talk with the person who delivers those classes, as well as the individual who many people interface with when they're registering for the course. We're going to talk about some unique offerings of the course that are going to be happening in person, as well as some of the online course offerings that are happening over the coming months, and why now is a great time to take the Homebuyer Education course from Community Action. We'll have all of that conversation in just a little bit, but before we do that, I should say, we're going to get to the news and information that you can use again for the month of April 2026. And we begin with this. We know that it is nearing the end of the heating season, but we're still needing to turn up our thermostats to keep our homes warm this time of year. And with all that we're seeing in terms of the increase in the cost of living and more specifically fuel oil prices in the past few weeks, it is important that families understand that if you haven't registered for the Home Energy Assistance Program or checked if you might be eligible or filled out an application, this is actually the ideal time to do that. Not only because of the cost of living and fuel oil at this time, but because we actually have capacity to take program appointments, oftentimes within the same week of when you call. Now, you can also complete those applications right online, right in the comfort of your home at the website that's noted there, ecos, E-C-O-S, mainhousing.org. And that's where you can do that right online at the Maine Housing website. Or please do give us a call. We are happy to accommodate in-person appointments for you or over the phone appointments. 764-3721 will connect you with our energy team. I think you just press the number 1 and you'll be connected. So now again is a great time to apply. And just so you know, in case you're afraid that any benefit that goes onto your fuel vendor account might not be used quickly enough to be in this heating season, any benefit does stay on your account and will roll into next season. So if you apply this spring in the month of April or in the month of May, assuming the program is still open, and you do get an appointment and you do get an allocation, it will be there for you, likely to start the fall heating season, which we all could certainly use that boost in the fall. So again, call us if you would like to see if you are a potential eligible applicant for the Home Energy Assistance Program. We'd be happy to work with you on an application for this season. We also want to share this news with you from our friends at the University of Maine at Machias. They will be holding their career fair on April 13th. That will be held at the Reynolds Murdoch Fitness and Aquatic Center right there on the campus, right next door to the Flaherty Early Care and Education Center, just across the drive from there. They're encouraging folks to bring their resumes, copies of their resumes along with them to dress professionally and be ready to talk with employers, maybe even get an on-the-spot interview there. There will be local and regional employers on site, as well as information about how you can get into different careers and training pathways, as well as opportunities for internships, part-time, full-time positions, and just the opportunity to network with employers and professionals. That's the career fair at the University of Maine at Machias on April 13th. Please, if you're in the Machias area or in Washington County, head on over to that opportunity that's being offered and open to the public. We also wanted to share this. We shared about the Cinderella Project of Maine comes to Aroostook. That was a couple of months ago here. And now it's time for the Down East and Coastal Maine area to hold their Cinderella Project of Maine event. The prom dress giveaway will be held on Friday and Saturday, the 17th and 18th of April. It will be held at the Mermaid Plaza, 1 East Main Street in Searsport. It's free to all Maine high school students, but they're asking folks to register for this one because they actually register folks for appointments. You can use the QR code there on your screen, or you can go on Facebook to Cinderella Project Maine, facebook.com/Cinderella Project Maine. If you want more information, it's our sister CAP, Waldo Community Action Partnership, that's offering this particular version of Cinderella Project of Maine. Their phone number is 388-6809, or you can email them at communitypartnerships@waldocap.org. And we look forward to hearing some great stories from from this particular prom dress giveaway on April 17th and 18th. Shifting gears now into Aroostook County, where our partner organizations, Aroostook Mental Health Center, specifically their sexual assault services, and the Hope and Justice Project are partnering together along with the Aroostook County District Attorney's Office and the Micmac Domestic and Sexual Violence Advocacy Center to hold a public awareness event to help strengthen the rights of victims affected by all crimes in Maine. They're inviting folks to join them in honoring victims during National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and this is specifically an event happening at the Presque Isle Recreation Center, the Sargent Family Community Center. It's the fifth annual Color Me 5K Run Walk. That will be happening between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Folks can register on Eventbrite or right there at the event that day. We certainly encourage you to go out to support a great cause from some of our great funding and community partners in Aroostook County here. Again, AMHC, Hope and Justice Project, the Aroostook County District Attorney's Office, and the Micmac Domestic and Sexual Violence Advocacy Center all coming together for this great event. We also wanted to share with you that the mobile maternal health clinic will be making its rounds across the spring months in Aroostook and in Washington County and in Hancock County. The maternal mobile health clinic, which came to Presque Isle last fall, is part of the initiative of the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention. It will be traveling to the following communities. It will be in Holton on the 30th of April from 9 to 2. It will be in Millbridge on May 20th from 10 to 3, in Blue Hill on the 21st from 10 to 2, and then in Calais on the 22nd from 9 to noon. Now you can go online to find out more information about this. The event that we're talking about here in Holton is happening at the Walmart parking lot, but information is available for all 4 sites through the Maine CDC website, and we encourage you to check out that information on that. There will be offerings at this particular mobile health clinic, or these particular mobile health clinics, for free diapers, car seats, and screenings. Again, we encourage all young mothers, young families, families with young children to consider attending these, as well as expectant mothers or those considering being an expectant mother in the near future. We also want to share this. The Aroostook Early Childhood Education Conference is happening. The theme this year is Rooted in Connection. It will be held on Saturday, May 2nd at the Northern Maine Community College campus in Presque Isle in the Edmonds Conference Center. It will happen from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it's an opportunity for early childhood professionals from across the region to come together for a professional development and training day. It's sponsored by Maine Roads to Quality, the Family Child Care Association of Maine, in partnership with Northern Maine Community College and Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties. One and all are invited. You can click the QR code there on your screen to register for this Aroostook Early Childhood Education Conference. We also wanted to share with you that we have openings available if you are working with aging parents or others that might need adults that might need supportive services during the day, and a safe place to go where they can get engagement and have a good time, as well as get some great homemade quality meals and nutritious meals there. Friendship Cottage is an adult day service center providing comfort, care, and community. It's located in Blue Hill. It offers a safe, supportive, and home-like environment where participants receive socialization, structured activities, and compassionate care. It's staffed by trained professionals, including a certified medication aide, to ensure medications are taken at proper times. So if you have any interest or any need for this service, please call us at 374-5612 or email Ann Osana at ann.osana@acap-me.org, and we'll gladly set a time for you to go over and look at the facility. Ann and her team there are just wonderful. We also have, on the other end of the spectrum, we have early care and education opportunities across Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties for folks in locations that include Bucksport, Caribou, Calais, Deer Isle, Dyer Brook, Easton, Ellsworth, Fort Kent, Holton, Limestone, Machias, and Presque Isle. If you have a preschool age child, an infant or a toddler, please give us a call at 764-3721 or email us at info@acap-me.org. You can also find an application for admission into our program on the Early Care and Education Center of the agency's website, www.acap-me.org. And lastly, we have a lot of programs and services and a lot of activity happening this time of year. But if we haven't talked about something and you're finding yourself in need of assistance, please do give us a call at 764-3721 or email us at info@acap-me.org. Whether you're in Aroostook, Washington, or Hancock counties, we want to help connect you with programs and services. And if we don't have the resource, we'll help connect you with another community partner organization that does. So again, if you are in need of any assistance at this time, please do reach out and give us a call when you have the opportunity and when you are in need. And that's this month's news and information that you can use. And as I mentioned before, our news and information that you can use segment, our feature topic, our feature interview this month on Community in Action is about the Homebuyer Education Program, Homeworks, that we'll be talking about with our friend Casey Bromberg, who works in partnership with Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties to deliver the courses across the region and virtually, so you can literally take it from anywhere in the comfort of your own home, some of the course offerings. And then Nikki McNally, who works in the housing program here in Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties, who serves as the enrollment specialist for our home buyer education program. So she'll be the person that you would be interfacing with to get registered before you sit down with Casey and spend some time with her in a great course and a very informative course that's held across the region and virtually. So I want to thank you both for joining me on this program as we talk about our home buyer education class. We always talk about it as we have offerings that we publicize in the news and information that you can use segment, but we haven't really done a deep dive into the feature interview, so I'm glad to do that. Casey, let me start with you and sort of sharing with us we call it Homeworks. It's a home buyer education class. Tell me about this course.
So it's a course that can take up to 8 hours, and you can take it either virtually from the comfort of your home, or you can come to an in-person class that we hold in the regions. Um, we try to make it fun and informative, but it also is beneficial to you because it can help you access grants for down payment assistance.
That's really good to know because a lot of folks, that they understand that they're coming into a course to learn sort of some of the ins and outs of the home buying process. And I think it goes a little bit beyond that. It also really, I think, talks about how to be a good homeowner, I think, once you get
Correct.
beyond that. So let's start there with some of those incentives and some of the benefits that happen at the after part of taking the class or as a result of taking the class. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about the content of the course itself. So talk about what are some of the benefits you can be connected to as a result of enrolling in this class.
So, depending on your income, you may be eligible for the USDA Direct Loan Program, which is a no down payment, typically very few closing costs program. From there, if you are more low to moderate income, you would qualify for the Maine State Housing Program as long as your credit score is 640 or higher, and we can help with that too. Um, but the Maine State Housing Program has grants that start at $5,000. They can go up to $14,000 if you want to do a multi-unit. And there is a special $10,000 grant for first generation home buyers. And the way that they determine if you're a first generation home buyer is if your parents never owned a home when you were under the age of 18, or you were adopted or in foster care growing up. There's also other grant programs through the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston. There's some great banks in the area that participate in that program. Their first generation program goes up to $40,000. And their lower income program is $32,000 this year. I just got that yesterday. And their moderate income program is $25,000.
Well, so there's really multiple opportunities and multiple ways to connect. And let me just bring Nikki into the conversation for a minute because as Casey was talking through that, oftentimes people associate programs and services of community action with being financially eligible to participate in those programs, whether that's low or moderate income or what have you. But Nikki, although the incentives that Casey talked about really are contingent upon a household income in many cases, actual participation in the home buyer education class is open to all, isn't it?
Yes.
So
Yep.
how do people connect? Tell us about, I mean, you have people from all walks of life and all stages of life that are connecting with you about this program. How do they do that and who should consider connecting?
So they can connect by going onto the ACAP website and they can log on there. I do get quite a few calls, or emails, want to connect on how to sign up for the course. So, and then I will send out an email with our link and all the information that, I'll have all the class dates so they can pick whatever class date they want and any other questions that they may have. And so once they register for the class and then they make a payment, the fee is $45. I automatically get an email when they make a payment, so then I know that they register. Sometimes they may forget to register, so then I'll reach back out to them. And then I'll get a list before the class, usually a week before the class, get it all together and send it over to Casey.
And then there's communication back with the prospective students in the class to say, hey, this is your link, or if you're doing it remotely or what have you.
Yeah, and I'll let them know that Casey will usually reach out to them the day before the class with a Zoom link and all the class material, so they have all that.
Excellent. So now that we've talked about getting into the class, Casey, talk about whether it's virtual or whether it's your in-person offerings. We do a few in-person offerings a year. What does a class look like? What does a home buyer education class look like? What do you cover? You know that you're the primary instructor, but you engage the voices of others as well. Talk to me about that.
The wonderful part about the class is that it really is a lot of information, and we put it into a neutral environment so that no one feels pressured either to buy a home or to engage with a particular lender or program, so that people feel empowered to have the right information for the right choices for them. And the class starts out with our fair housing and discrimination section so that people understand their rights during the process. We move into budgeting and credit so that people understand how to get their credit scores where they need to be in order to purchase a home, because a lot of the programs require a credit score. And then from there, we have a pretty extensive lending section where we start with just basically what is a mortgage and go right through to what the different programs entail. We have parts of the class that delve into insurance and home inspections and energy efficiency and even just, what's it like when you get into the home and you need to change over the locks, things like that.
That's really comprehensive. And as I indicated when we first started this interview out, it really does extend beyond the buying process to the ownership process. And you talked about energy efficiencies and things like that that really allow the prospective home buyer to have success and to be set up for success beyond the buying process and into the owning process.
Correct.
So what do you engage others? I know that you say it's not obviously done in a sort of a sales environment and sort of
Right.
trying to direct people into home ownership or buying a home. But do you engage other professionals in different ways that help advise or give educational context, or are you providing all of that information?
Sometimes it's just me. Sometimes we involve a lender, a realtor, home inspector, whatever we can bring together for that particular class. Sometimes where it's on the weekends, it's harder to grab people, but um, there's also, I did want to mention a self-paced option
Hmm.
through eHome America that's a little bit underutilized. It is more expensive. It is $100 that class, but it's completely self-paced, but you're not left on your own. We do have a counseling session that's set up after the fact that's brief but informative to go over main specific information.
Are you a counselor in that program, Casey? Do you do some of that
Yes.
follow-up work? Okay, so wonderful. So it's an opportunity for maybe somebody who has scheduling issues or, as you indicated, just wants to do it at a different pace. Great, good to know. We'll make sure
Yeah,
we get that
I
information out.
yeah, I
Nikki,
do mention that if they have a hard time, on a Saturday or that they can do it at their own pace. So I do mention that when I talk to them on the phone.
let's address the most frequently asked questions. Nikki from the registration process and Casey, what are the more common questions that prospective home buyers, people who take the class, ask in the session? Let's start with the origination process. Nikki, what are some of the sort of frequently asked questions that would be helpful for people to know about the registration process that when they reach out are like, what about this? What about that?
I get a lot of questions on the lenders, what certain banks that we have. So I have a list that I can let them know which banks that we use through the program. A lot of people they're rent to own. So um, I don't really give them much information because Casey's really good at explaining that more than I am. So I usually give them her contact information. Um, a lot of people want to know how long the certificate lasts for, and it's good for 2 years. So that's very helpful to know. And they want to know, do they need to have a home in mind before they take the class? So that's another question. Um,
And the answer is
no, they don't need to, but I think Casey can go into more detail on that and more detail on rent to own. So those are just a few questions. And then just how long the class is, that Casey had said 8 to 5. Um, when will I receive the Zoom link isn't a lot of the questions. So yeah, that's in I mentioned up to like the $5,000 incentive, and that's good to know because I wasn't aware that there was other um, programs that have more of an incentive, so that's good to know.
Right. All right. Well, Casey, how about switching over to when you're actually in the class session with students or in some of the counseling that you do for those who take the self-paced course? What are the FAQs? What are the frequently asked questions?
There's lots of questions about credit and how to build your credit score up a little bit more. Um, there's lots of questions about like homeowners insurance, surprisingly, because once people start to delve into that topic, they're like, wow, I didn't know that wasn't covered.
Hmm.
Or different aspects of just ownership of it may be me asking them, is your house going to have public water, public sewer, or is it going to have a septic tank? And them saying, I've got a septic. And I'm like, well, how old is your septic? And so sometimes it's what you don't know that can be really important to know. So we try to bring those out through questioning with them so that they don't find out a week before their closing that their septic tank is 30 years old and that may not be a very long life expectancy left on that particular tank.
Lots of nuances to the process. Nikki mentioned rent to own. Right? Is that a frequently asked question?
It can be. Um, with rent to owns, we try to emphasize that if people are going to go that route, they really need their own attorney because one of the big issues with that kind of arrangement is that it's often not deeded real estate. And that can be a real big problem for an owner because they're not really the owner until their name is on the deed. And when their name isn't on the deed, they're essentially a tenant who's paying a lot more in rent. And if they were late on that rent for some reason 1 month, they might have the potential to be evicted, and then that seller could keep all that money.
Reach, yeah. Wow.
So
Casey,
it's
what
really
else?
unfortunate.
Yeah. What else, Casey? What else do people it would be helpful for people to know is I don't want to have you give away all the goods to the course, right?
Oh, look,
Well,
I just got a payment for the
great,
class.
wonderful. Um, so I think the some of the really important things for people to know about are just basic budgeting. So because a lot of folks aren't taught that in school anymore. And a lot of people come from families that maybe aren't exceedingly strong in budgeting or anything like that. They just kind of figure it out. That's a phrase I hear a lot. And when they try to figure it out, they kind of go paycheck to paycheck. And there's more effective ways to do it. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting more organized and having somebody say, have you thought about laying it out for the entire year at once and looking what those expenses might look like? Or have you thought about looking at it week by week if you have to break it down so that you're not paycheck to paycheck like that? So that's a really important thing that I like to stress in the class.
Yeah, another thing that strikes me, Casey, is that you've taught this course over the arc of pre-pandemic, through pandemic, and now post-pandemic, and you've seen wild shifts in everything from the housing market, the availability, the affordability of housing, as well as interest rate changes throughout that period when it's been less advantageous, more advantageous. What are your thoughts as you sort of navigated through all that change as somebody who's leading individuals and helping them to make good decisions and good choices in the home buying process, given the wild fluctuations you've seen in just the last handful of years in this area?
I think the more you know, the better. That's really the big takeaway is that the more education you can get, the more that you can find out about this prospective property or even just this loan product, understanding the nuances of a lot of the government products are great to help you get into a house, but sometimes they come with mortgage insurance that stays on there for the lifetime of the loan. And that's kind of a hidden cost that people don't always realize is there, but it can be a way to get into the home.
Um, let's go back to you, Nikki. I'm going to bring up a slide at this point, and I'm going to ask you to talk about the upcoming classes that are happening in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties, and obviously virtually. So go through what our next classes, our upcoming classes are.
So on Saturday, April 4th, we have a Zoom class. And then Saturday, May 9th is an in-person class, and that will be right here at the main office. At ACAP. And then on Saturday, September 26th is another in-person class, the Island Connectivity Hub in Stonington. We try to have at least two in-person classes a year and the rest are Zoom. We can have 8 classes per year. So there may be a month that we might skip if we don't have enough to participate. We need at least 6 people to participate in the class and to register for the class. The number is 764-3721 is our main number, and that's my extension 223. Or you can email homebuyer.edu@acap-me.org, and that goes directly to me.
Excellent.
Um,
Now, these are the sessions that we have on the calendar and scheduled, but there may be a few more added
yes.
a couple more added at least in the fall.
Yep.
So be on
Yeah.
the lookout for those.
Yeah, we're waiting for Casey's gonna get us her schedule for the rest of the year. So we should have one at least once a month. We like to have a class. I've seen, since we have 3 counties now, I've seen a big increase in people attending the classes. So that's always nice that we can run the class because I hate when we don't have enough to run the class and then you have to reach out. But if for some reason they can't, they've registered, they paid for the class and they want to take a different class, we can always do that. Or if they change their mind, we can reimburse them their money. Um, any employees here at ACAP, we waive the fee, so that's a good incentive for our employees. Um, so.
Kate,
There's another thing I wanted to mention. So if whoever's name is going to be on the deed, so if you have a husband and wife, if both your names are on the deed, you both have to register and pay the $45 fee. So that's good information for people to know.
good, that is indeed. Casey, given all that we've talked about and the complexities of home ownership, but also the sort of the reality and the complexities of the home buying environment that we're in, especially here in the state of Maine, but I think the same extends across the nation with, housing availability and the cost of buying a home these days. Why is now an especially good time to take a home buyer education class?
I think as Nikki mentioned, the certificate is good for 2 years. So if you're not ready today, that's perfectly fine. You're able to actually get the information and kind of think about it, mull it over, get yourself ready so that you're in a position where you can maximize the opportunities that are available when it's the right time for you.
Awesome. What haven't we talked about that you want folks to walk away from this feature interview on community in action, knowing about our home buyer education course or the process in general? Nikki, anything that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure folks know about?
Um, so if you've taken the class and for some reason you need your certificate, we do keep a good, our file system is pretty good that we keep them for a couple of years. So I can always look that information up, and if your lender needs like a receipt, we can get that for you. So I've done that a few times. I've had quite a few calls for that. Um, Not anything else I can think of right now.
Great. Casey, what's your last word and thoughts on things that we maybe haven't covered or something you might want to just reiterate for folks?
Um, that if they can't access a class um, through ACAP, they can certainly, or Community Action in Washington, Hancock, and Aroostook counties. They can take a Zoom class with any of the other organizations that offer it throughout the state because the Homeworks curriculum is standardized across the whole state. So you're getting exactly what somebody talks about in a different county. You're getting the same material there, but we do try to personalize it a bit for some of the areas where we're hosting the class.
And the self-paced option as well, right?
Yes.
Great. Well, Casey Bromberg and Nikki McNally, thank you so much for all the great work you're doing to make people's dreams come true about becoming homeowners and doing so in a very effective way that's helping set them up for success. We greatly appreciate the effort that you put in, and I know many of the individuals, the students who have taken classes through you are appreciative as they go into the home buying process that can be very complex and very challenging, as we've heard in this interview today. So thank you again, Casey and Nikki. Before we leave the two of you, and before we leave all of you who have tuned into this month's edition of Community in Action, we do as we do each point in this broadcast before we leave you and bring you our highlight snapshot from community action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties. And this month, we travel to Machias at the Flaherty Early Care and Education Center on the campus of the University of Maine at Machias. That's a center operated by Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties, where we find our teacher there, our preschool teacher, Lindsay Jackins, who created a sign celebrating the recent Child and Adult Care Food Program Week, which was held in March as part of National Nutrition Month. During the week, children at the center, led by Lindsay, learned about healthy foods, talked about their favorite foods, tried some new fruits and vegetables, and learned how they grow. Because guess what? The growing season isn't that far off here in northern and down East Maine. They also talked about how important food is for energy. So we thank Lindsay and we thank all of our early care and education professionals and our community educators and others who spent part of the month of March helping to educate young ones and community members across the lifespan about the importance of nutrition during March as National Nutrition Month. And lastly, again, thank you to Casey and Nikki. We'll be back next month for a May edition of Community in Action, the feature interview. Until then, have a great month of April, everyone. We'll see you next time.